Hello and welcome. Thank you all for joining us once again. Welcome to the BlerdDad podcast, a space where we have unfiltered conversations and nerd out about fatherhood. I'm your host, Glennlawrence, and that is the best intro that I think I've ever done for the show. I'm very happy about it. I'm very psyched about it. I got to be on point now because I got a son now. That is right. That's right. I got a son. He is here. And today we're going to be talking about birth, and I'm very excited about it. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be we got a great guest. And I think you'll learn something from it. You'll have some insight into a couple of things that you might not have known about. But yeah, I don't know. I'm floored. I'm super, super happy about having this little guy here. It was an amazing experience, and I'll tell you all about it. But first, we got to get to a word from our sponsor, as always. The sponsor is theymademewearit. Check them out. They're a husband and wife team. They're on a mission to help your dog discover, or your cat, discover their fashionable side. I don't know if they do cats. I don't know if they picked up cats. I know they picked up lizards, maybe snakes. But you can get all the greatest gear for them, whether it's a Halloween costume, adorable dress, comfy jammies, or custom designer gowns. Your fur baby or scaly baby will love wearing the latest fashions. I'm just joking. I don't think they have snakes or whatever, but it might be an untapped market if you wanted to go into it. They made me wear it. I hope you guys are listening. But while you're shopping their store, just be aware that you are contributing for Hope for Paws. It's an animal rescue organization, and they work tirelessly to save the lives of abandoned animals. So what are you waiting for? You should check out theymademewearit.com right now. Use code word blerd at checkout for 15% off the entire store. That's a heck of a deal. That is a heck of a deal. All right. So with that out of the way, the little guy is here. Morgan, Quincy McDonald is in the building. And actually, I think maybe we should just bring him out today. What do you think? We think we should actually show him, bring him out and show everybody him. What do you think? You guys want to see the little guy? Here he comes. Look, we already got the stuff in the background. Oh, look at here he is. Here's little Morgan Quincy. Hold on, look, we're gonna let him say a few words. Here, take that.
Want to say a few words?
We already got him doing.
I want to say to the people. Say hi, people. Say hi.
Look, he's ready for the spotlight already. He's like, I'm hungry. That's what he's saying. He's doing it in sign language, I guess. I guess if you're listening to this on the podcast, it's probably not as interesting as if you're watching it on YouTube. But yeah, the little guy is here, and he's making all kind of faces, and he's smiling. This is where the BlerdDad podcast gets really, really fun, because we're going to be talking about raising this little one, trying to make him into a productive member of society. Look how cute he is. He's just a little. All right. We got to get to the show. All right, give me a kiss, little guy.
Hi.
Oh, you see that? He moved in. I tried to give him a kiss on the cheek, and he turned. He's like, "No, Daddy, I want a full kiss on the face." All right, that was cool. But yeah, the little guy is here, and that's super exciting. To get him here, we actually took an unconventional path to some degrees. We had a home birth, right? Which is it's a choice more and more people are making, and I think it was the right choice for us. It was an amazing story. It worked out really well. We're very happy that we did it, and today we're going to talk to a person who was very integral in making that happen. Her name is Ryann Morales. She is an amazing midwife. She's been attending birth since 2012 and has done over 750 births, 751. No, wait, over 750. So yeah, we're another one over the 750. She graduated from Birthwise Midwifery School and became a certified professional midwife in 2017 and has attended births in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. She attends births as a midwife and also provides some doula support for home and hospital births. She provides DC era families with an intimate, tailored experience. And the best part of Ryann is that she spells her name with 2 N's, just like I do. So she's a dope person if that's the case, right? So let's not waste any of her time because it is very precious. She could have a birth at any moment. So let's bring Ryann in here and start talking a little bit about birthing, home birth, and having an amazing experience at the end of your pregnancy. Hello, Ryann.
Hi, Glenn.
How you doing?
I'm all right. We went and saw the Olympic rings this evening.
The Olympic rings? What do you mean?
They're downtown, and you can go take your picture with them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do they have those all in major cities?
I think they travel around. I think there's just one set.
Okay. So, wait, do they light the torch? Is like the torch going to be lit there? And then
It's not as good as the torch. I saw the torch in college. It's just the rings on the mall, and you can take your picture in front of them.
Okay, I thought they were supposed to like light the torch or whatever, and take it over there.
I think they do that too. I saw that in college.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and talking about this really, really cool topic, really, really interesting topic, which is home birth and basically the end of or I guess the entirety of your pregnancy, but everyone kind of focuses on like the end of it, right? The birthing process. And we had a good one, and that's in no small part to you and the other midwives. It's almost kind of like a family. I don't want to say like a staff or team. It's just like it's almost like a family. You have a bunch of it takes a village, and this is like our little village that has helped birth this baby. So thank you, first of all.
Well, I mean, I always like to say thank you guys for trusting me because it wouldn't really be possible for me to do what I do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it'd be a little weird if I didn't have you guys.
Yeah, right. If you're just like hopping into people's births and be like, I'm here to help. No, it's interesting because when you go through the process of deciding to do like a home birth, first of all, people make it seem like you just kind of on a whim decided we're just going to wing it at home, but that's not the case. There are steps usually that you take, and there are steps that we took for this because we were thinking about whether it was right for us. First of all, there was COVID, so that made it kind of weird to be in hospital. So we were like, oh, let's go out and do this. And we interviewed a lot of different midwives. So, there was like a selection process. And I think, like the Mayo Clinic has like all these different things that you should do if you're going through a home birth, like get a trained healthcare professional to provide assistance, which we did, which was you. And, you get a birth plan, then you prepare for a hospital transfer. But the process of figuring out whether you're doing a home birth is one where you get other people involved. I don't know if there's a question in that. I'm just trying to tell people like we didn't wing it. All right. We had a plan and we executed the plan.
Yeah. I mean, right. Like some people come to care later, but you guys actually like had such a plan that you were in my care the entire pregnancy. So it was the opposite of winging it. We spent a lot of time together.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you start out, and you kind of have a plan of the pregnancy, talk a little bit about that, about basically how, if someone comes to you early enough, what does it look like when you get midwife care? Because I don't believe people understand what it means to have a home birth and to get midwife care and have a midwife taking care of you throughout your pregnancy. Yeah,
I think so. I think that we see doctors and hospital practices as a gold standard, but really I did everything for you in your pregnancy that a doctor or hospital midwife would have done. You could have ultrasounds, you could have labs. We listened to the baby with the Doppler. We even had an ultrasound machine in the office. But on top of that, those things that fit into a 10-minute visit, you guys got extra time because we always talked too much. Not too much, the right amount. But right, like we would spend
it's kind of my MO
together. Yeah. Well, me too. So I always budgeted extra time between the two of us. Right? Because a lot of there's a book called The Myth of Prenatal Care, and it's really about how you could probably have a baby and medically everyone would be fine without any prenatal care. Mm-hmm. So I think so much of prenatal care is just that it is the time spent talking about nothing. Like what'd you watch on TV? What'd you do last week? Plus the talking about the evidence and learning what you guys really value and what's going to be really important to you guys.
Yeah, I found that going through this process, it was like so we would go through, a week or a couple weeks or a couple, interval of time, right? And then our anxiety would get higher during that interval of time. And then we would go see you. And it's like almost like personalized care, where someone is looking at you and they've overlooked the entire pregnancy for the entire time that you've been doing it. And they can kind of help ease some of that anxiety, which I thought was probably the most valuable thing, because like you said, you could probably have, we could have probably had the baby without anybody like intervening or doing anything, because we had like a healthy natural course. Of course, if anything would have popped up during the pregnancy where it was kind of like, oh, okay, your blood pressure is a little too high, these levels are looking out of sorts, like we would have also had the hospital care system to go to. So it's almost like you get a double helping of care for your pregnancy.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Like, we work closely with doctors and hospital midwives, and if we had a specific concern, it wouldn't mean you weren't having a home birth, but it would mean we would get a higher level of care involved, and it would just be another person on your team.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know. I keep just grinning ear to ear thinking about how like kind of well this all went. And we really do. We really like think about you all like family now, because, during all the different little, times during pregnancy where you're like, oh, are we doing this right? Is this going to work? It's great. But I think a lot of times people don't understand that the aftercare that you get after your pregnancy is also pretty vital and very helpful, during this thing where you get kind of like checkups to be like, hey, this is normal, this is normal, this is normal. Whereas I don't know that you get as much as that. You kind of like, they keep you in the hospital for a little bit and then they're like, all right, go raise them.
Then they see you in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
You leave it 2 days and you don't talk to anybody for 6 weeks.
Yeah. So I really like how we kind of, have someone who's kind of looking after us for all this time. Now, a little bit about your background. How did you get into birth work, and what made you say, you know what, I want to help people deliver babies?
So I actually used to be a lawyer for the federal government. And when my first daughter, Ray / Sawyer, was born 12 years ago, I'd really hoped for an unmedicated birth. And I walked into a hospital that still to this day does a lot of cesareans, and was somehow surprised when I had a cesarean. And so it really motivated me. It crushed me, but it motivated me to plan for better for myself the next time. I had a really great hospital water birth with my second daughter. And when I went back to work, I found that people would come to me with questions about work, and I would be like, hey, well, like, have you thought about hiring a doula? Who's your midwife? And I just felt really drawn to this work. I see it as social justice work. And I think it's really important to offer people the chance to not go through what I went through, to like see how much, especially birthing people, aren't given a lot of affirmations about their body's ability to do things. And I think it's really cool to be able to leave people and parenting their kid knowing that they are in charge of what that experience looks like, and that they have everything they need to be the best parent that they can be.
Yeah. I mean, that was the thing that I thought was very interesting about doing the home birth, is there was a lot of, this is okay, your body can do this. And it's a lot of like, all right, like we're working through it together, as opposed to like, you're in distress, this is what we're doing now. Because it almost feels like you're not only are you taken out of I don't want to say the moment, but taken out, it's like the choice is taken out of your hand almost, where it's like, these are the protocols we're going to follow because of these set of numbers, as opposed to, kind of like breathing through it and figuring out like what might be the best. And it might be going to the hospital, but like you said, you went to a hospital where they do a lot of C-sections, and then all of a sudden you're getting a C-section. Now, we don't know if, there were complications where that was necessary, but a lot of times, like, this is what I equate it to. Like, they have a job and they're doing the job, which their job is to get the baby out. Whereas, you know what I mean? When you have a midwife, like your job is to care for the mother through the birth.
Yeah, I always say that, like, we don't think of birth as something where we are the consumer, but we are the consumer. So you need to find out what your provider is selling.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're selling C-sections, then don't be shocked, like I was, when what you bought was a C-section. Mm-hmm. And if what they're selling is a low intervention birth without pain management, with at home, which is not for everybody, then if that's what you want, you should go find the person who's selling that.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that, you know, if you need to have someone intervene, that is available. Like, that is what the system is for. Like, those are really abnormal circumstances to the birthing process, as opposed to like the normal part of the birthing process. Like, if you know, not saying that that society's falling, but if there was a society that had hospitals and everything, which before like 1920 or so, there wasn't. People used to have births at home with midwives. People would just have births at home, but now we have, like, you know, all these hospitals and everything, and not saying it's bad, but like 98% or something crazy is like hospital, like people have babies in the hospital, which is wild to me that is something that wasn't a thing before 1920s.
Yep. It's crazy. And, you know, when you look around the world, if you look at somewhere like lots of countries in Europe, not all of them, many places start at the lowest level of care necessary. So with the option of having a home birth, and your midwife can transport you into the hospital and continue to be your care provider. Whereas here, if I take you to the hospital, we're lucky to have great hospitals here that make hospital transfers pleasant, which makes it easier to make the decision. But if I go in with you, I'm essentially your doula, generally given a little more authority in terms of explaining what happened, but I'm not your care provider anymore. And that's really disorienting in our system.
Yeah. So what's the difference between like a midwife and a doula?
So a midwife is your care provider. Like I said, I do everything a doctor could do for you. And then labor, that means I'm monitoring the baby. I'm checking your vitals. I'm assessing everything that's happening to make sure you're still safe. Giving medicine if you bleed too much, resuscitating the baby if we needed, calling 911 if we needed. When I'm the doula, generally it's at hospital births, and although I have some home birth doula births coming up. When I'm your doula, I am your support person. I am there to help you advocate for yourself, help you ask good questions, make sure that you and your partner feel safe and like you understand what's going on. But nothing medical when I do that.
Okay. That is the part that I like, where you said that you and your partner, because a lot of times, you know, if you do go to a hospital route, and this is like no fault to the hospital system, they're viewing it as kind of like, you know, an emergency event, right? So they're trying to take out all the variables that would make the emergency event go not well. One of those variables is the partner. It's like, all right, we gotta handle this. You stand over there. And this is the part that I thought was really cool with, you know, midwife care and home birth, is that the partner is taken to account as part of that process, right? So instead of being someone that needs to be removed from the equation to take out all the variables so you can have a safe and healthy birth, you now are incorporating that person into helping. And I'll have to say, during our birth, like there were parts where I thought I was going to be on the sidelines, like chilling, you know, like getting y'all some drinks or whatever, serving some hors d'oeuvres. Y'all were like, nah, get behind there. You're good. Go ahead and catch them.
I mean, it helped that the birth went fast enough that the soup you made wasn't even ready yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I always say the partner, no one loves the birthing person better than their partner. And so no one has a more important job in the room. And part of our job is to facilitate you doing that job well. Whenever we would see you guys, and even in lead up to the birth, we would talk about, and we being me and my students, Mel and Tia, we would talk about, okay, what do we need to do for Stephanie today? What do we need? What is Glenn going to need today?
Wait, that was a real conversation that you were all having before we came in?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
we were worried that you were going to be anxious during the birth, and so Mel was like, he needs like an arts and crafts kit. We need some projects for Glenn. But then all of a sudden you busted out with this breathing, and you were like, I'm a yoga teacher.
Yeah. So other people might not know I am a certified yoga instructor. So I do have those traits to fall back on when necessary. I'm just like, you know, like that is ingrained in me now because I did so much time.
I have to say, what you were saying during the birth about, you said something like, let your breath ground you. The contraction won't come until you grounded in your breath. Something like that. I was like, I went to birth the next day and repeated it.
Shut up. Are you serious? Yes, I have a legacy. No, I think what I said was let your breath is the foundation for your next push. So breathe so you could build a foundation for this next push so it could be strong enough to help the baby come out. And I know that Stephanie did not like it when I was saying it, but she did. Stephanie told me that she heard what I was saying and was annoyed. But then when you all didn't say anything to like be like, no, don't do that. She was like, okay, maybe he's right. And then she tried it. And she's like, all right, this does help a little bit.
We didn't say anything because we were all doing it. We were like, that's what I was like, what is happening, Glenn? You seem to be calming all of us down.
Listen,
you're midwifing the midwives.
This is what people don't understand. Whatever the situation calls for, I rise to the occasion. Okay. You know what I mean? That's what I do. If all of a sudden now I'm a midwife, you know, I'm just joking. I'm not a midwife. I tried to be a very calming presence because the worst thing you want is like, I'm running around with my head cut off. I was sad because I did. Like I said, like during births, usually in the hospital, you're not very useful. But during this, I thought I was super useful. I was like trying to serve drinks and everything and serving food. My sister is in here like, so insightful and so true. Thank you, Gabby. Yes, very insightful. Ryan is incredibly insightful. I'm trying to do my best to be insightful. But yeah, I was like serving things. I was very upset that I made soup for everyone to eat. Actually the pregnancy and the labor went so fast that I wanted to slow it down because I'm like, the soup's not going to be ready. Like, Stephanie, what are you doing? Stop pushing. We got another 30 minutes on the soup.
When we left several hours after birth, you definitely were like, are you sure you don't want to stay the night? There's soup.
That's what we thought. But it was such a great process. Like, I was nervous, right? That going through the birth, that we were going to need help throughout the night because we're going to have a new baby. We're not going to know what to do. We're going to be all out of sorts. But the process of the birthing went so smooth that the baby was just there, right? And everything was so calm that when you all had we're like, okay, that like that's it, and everything is okay, and left us there. Like, we felt very comfortable having this new entity that we created, in our care, and of course you came back the next day to check on us and everything, but it was just kind of like a beautiful thing. And you really made us feel safe in our decision. You know what I mean? Tia said, so glad to be a part of your journey. So I have to tell you, Mel and Tia definitely are going to have to be on this podcast, and they'll talk about it from their perspective, how the birthing went, because they are amazing and they are part of our family now. We feel like too. How do you feel the birth went? Like if you had to say, okay, scale of 1 to 10, this birth went well, and how would you describe it?
I would give it an 11. It was perfect. And, I care a lot about all my clients, but I just feel like we were really connected to you guys. And it just to see you get to that point where it goes even better than you could have hoped it went is just the best. Plus, I went to bed at by midnight. Was it maybe even early, right? Like the dream, right? Also, right. Where I wasn't even, we didn't have to be up all night. I mean, I would have gladly been up all night with you guys, but walking in and just hearing Steph start pushing, and I was like, and she was like, no. And then, 15 minutes later, I was like, oh,
yeah. So I'll tell you this from my point of view, right? So what happened is we were watching something on Netflix. Stephanie's water broke, right? And or she was doing like this really hard laugh and really hard cry, right, at the same time, like, and I guess later we found oxytocin or something is released when you have a hard laugh or cry response. But anyways, so she's doing that, and then I said something to make her laugh, of course, because I'm trying to take the edge off, and she's like, "Stop! Don't make me laugh," because I think I just shit myself. Right. And then I was like, what? She's like, or my water broke. And I'm like, well, let's hope it's the second. And so then it was the water breaking. And then from that point, I was like, all right, cool. So then, I was getting things ready, and she started having, some minor labor pains, and she went from nothing, water breaking, to, oh, this is kind of painful, to full blown, like ready to go, like labor. But in that time, she was sitting on the toilet, and she was like, having doubts. She was like, oh, I don't think I can do this. This really hurts. This is like really painful. And at first I kind of ignored her, and then she said it enough times to where it's like, hey, this is a thing. I'm not like a thing I'm just saying. I'm saying it to you because I need instruction. And I was like, you're the strongest woman I know. You can do this. Right. And but in my mind, I'm like, oh crap, like what, like okay, now it's like crunch time. What if we do have to go to the hospital because the pain is too great? Did we make a mistake here? And she was saying that. And then you came, right, and you walked in, and she was sitting on the toilet, and she was like, oh, Ryan, I don't think I can do this. And you were just like, okay, all right, well, what are you feeling or whatever? She's like, I'm in a lot of pain or whatever. And then you said, why don't you turn around on the toilet, so like you're straddling it? And then she like laid her head down on the little, what's it called, the little the basin,
the bowl of the toilet.
Yeah. So she laid her head down, and she's like, oh my goodness, this feels so much better. And I know that we had a great time up until then, but that moment right there, I was like, that moment was worth all the money that we hit. Like, I was like, that was the moment where I'm like, this is why we did it. This right here is why
for the backward toilet set.
Yeah. I was like, just that one motion, I was like, that was worth its weight in gold.
Well, when she stood up, she'd been on the toilet so long, her whole butt was like molded to the toilet, and I was like, ouch, maybe what hurts is just your butt from sitting on the toilet.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing that happened. She was having a lot of pain, but you did some modifications of her positioning that really helped alleviate that pain. And that's one of the main takeaways that I had from this, hospital versus having a birth at home, is you have a little bit more freedom to help soothe your pain than you would in a hospital. Because in the hospital, you're in the bed the whole time, if I'm not mistaken, and they don't let you really like change or move around. They kind of you're just in stirrups waiting for the baby to come out. Yeah,
I mean, if you're unmedicated, and depends hospital, like you could be standing next to the bed. There are hospitals that do water births.
Okay.
But it's more of an uphill battle. By and large, I think most babies born in the hospital are born on your back in bed.
And for me, now this is so I'm not going to get you in trouble by saying wild things, but for me, when I think about it, on your back, pushing up against gravity is not natural, which is why you have a lot of pain and why you have a lot of extra pressure. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because you're pushing basically against gravity up in an unnatural way, and that could hurt. Now, again,
well,
I'm
it's
not
the position anybody ever chooses. When people ask how people give birth at home, I always say not on your back.
Yeah.
Because that's when given a choice, nobody ever lands there. You have to sort of be tucked there or forced there, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, and if you think about it, not that a baby is a poop, but you don't ever poop on your back.
I mean, it's a poop too, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing. But yeah, I mean, the whole process of the birth thing was pretty amazing. What was your favorite part of our birth, I guess you would say?
I mean, I think probably my favorite moment was the moment I realized that she was about to have the baby. That, because you come in and you're like, I know it's normal to feel like it's a mistake. I think I quoted Arrested Development to you in that moment, because there's always this I've made a terrible mistake moment that's right. Really normal. But realizing like 10 minutes later we kind of shifted to the bedroom and just listening to her and me saying, I think you're pushing, and her saying back, I am. I think I'm pushing. That was the best, because I was like, oh my gosh, like this is going to happen the way she wants it to happen.
Right. And it was crazy because, you know, we were planning.
You weren't there. I think you were dealing with the weird front desk man and the parking passes and getting Tia in.
Listen, listen, don't ever have to deal with like an old New Yorker when you have somewhere to go, because they always want to tell a story, and they always like, and their time is not your time. You know what I mean? So he did not care. I was like, my wife's in labor. He was like, have you ever heard of Colin Ferguson? And I was like, no, because I'm thinking he's going to tell me a story about, you know, labor or whatever, how to be calm or whatever. Yeah. And he's like, oh, he was like a serial killer in New York City. He came here. He thought it was the land of milk and honey. And, you know, he really went off the rails. And I'm just sitting there like, the fuck does this have to do with my parking passes? You know, like, what part of labor does Colin Ferguson have to do with? Anyway, so yeah, I was down there. I couldn't, like, technically I could have missed the entire birth, dealing with the parking passes.
Had you listened to his story to its completion, yes. I
would have missed the birth.
You would be there today, Glenn.
Yeah, but yeah, so we had a plan to have, you know, the water tub and everything. And when I got up, I was like, oh, cool. Oh, she's about to have it. Cool. Let me fill up the tub. And you were just like, we're not going to have time. And
you still took some of the tub out, and I was like, well, now he's got to put it back.
I know, because I just couldn't believe that in a matter of hours or a hour, this baby was going to be in the world. Like, I was thinking 12 hours, 6 hour, 5 hour labor or whatever. And everything happened so quick. It literally felt like 30 minutes of oh snap, her water broke. Oh snap, she's uncomfortable. Oh snap, Ryan's here. Oh snap, Tia's now here. Oh snap, now the baby is on the way. Like, those were the oh snaps. And so it really felt extremely fast. But yeah, you said that I didn't even have time to fill up the thing. Yeah, you said she's 10 centimeters. And I was like, what does that mean? And I feel like everyone who's been pregnant before knows what like 10 centimeters meant. But I was like, what does that mean? And you were like, that means the baby's going to be here.
You were like, it does not compute. That's not where we are yet.
I was like, syntax error. Please repeat. And then you said it again. You're like, yeah, the baby's going to be here. And I was like, okay, so should I fill up the tub? And you're like, we're not going to have time. And then I was like, you know, one of our favorite people, Gabriella Marie, said babies are like pizzas, 30 minutes or less. The baby was quick. He got here quick. And then I was like, okay, well, if the tub that we got isn't working, should I fill up the water, like our bathtub for it? And then you were also like, we're not going to have time. And in my mind, I'm like, it takes 20 minutes to fill it. Like, what do you mean not going to have time? Like 20 minutes? Like what? You're like, nope, baby's coming. And then like, I feel like right as we were having that discussion, Stephanie was like, I was like, oh, like baby's going to be here.
You're like, oh, I hear it now.
So what is your favorite part of being a midwife and doing the birth thing just in general, not just our birth, like in general, what's your favorite part?
I think it applies to your birth too. Like, to be honest, I'm not a baby person, like, but I'm a parent person. Like, my very favorite part of my job is watching you guys become parents.
Oh, cool. Very, very cool. 70 said we had a Jimmy John's birth freaky fast. For those of you who don't know, Jimmy John's phrase is freaky fast. That's our slogan. So yeah, our baby was freaky fast. And it was funny because so here's another thing that is interesting about home births is that our pregnancy went past the due date. And it had gone past the due date to where we had actually discussed, like, okay, what are we going to do to, like, what are the next steps? Do we induce? Do we try to, you know, are we going to go into the hospital or whatever? Because there is a certain point where it's like, okay, this is an indicator of something being abnormal, you should go to the hospital because it is now becoming like an emergency. So we talked about that. So it was just very interesting that we had went past the birth, and then all of a sudden, like the baby is coming super fast, like because we were like a week and a half or something past the due date. Mm-hmm. But if you are normally, if you're normally in like the hospital system, if you're a week and a half past the due date, they're probably going to induce you. Like, and you don't necessarily have like that much of a say in like, I don't want to be induced unless you don't go there.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really hard for people to decline the pressure to induce in the hospital. And even with you guys, there wasn't pressure. It was like, let's talk about risks and benefits of staying pregnant and let's decide on what the plan's going to be. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I also went to roughly 1 million ultrasounds in that week and a half.
Oh my goodness.
Sure the baby was doing good.
But I mean, and that's the thing. I feel like it's the care. You're still making the decisions, right? You're still feeling your baby. You're still making the decisions, but the care is still there, right? Mm-hmm. That's rhyming.
I feel like when we were talking about inducing, Stephanie goes, I just don't want to go to another ultrasound.
Yeah. Well, because she was doing the ultrasound and the chiropractor or whatever.
It was a lot.
Yeah, and it's a lot because they're poking and prodding her. And I'm just along for the ride. I'm just like, okay, cool. I guess we're going here today. Guess we're going there today. Guess we're going here today. So that part of it.
Sadie was along for.
Oh my god.
You didn't talk about how Sadie came to your prenatal visit.
Oh, yeah, Sadie would come in and then she'd be so good. By the way, Sadie is different. She came back a different dog, which is sad.
What happened?
I don't know. She like went to daycare, right? Being normal old Sadie. And then when she came back, now she's just like a little bit more timid. She doesn't eat all of her meal. I'm like, I feel like we took her in as like an adolescent dog and she came back like a what's it called? Like an emo teenager.
I get that. She's like the dog in Lady and the Tramp when the baby comes.
Yeah, she's like, but yeah, she's like different. I mean, I know she senses a difference in the environment or whatever, but she's just like a little bit different. She's
a little postpartum depression.
You think so?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe. I'll make some recommendation of some homeopathics you can give her.
Okay. Well, as a comedian, I could say things like that, but people will say, that midwife said dogs get postpartum. And now, it's like, no, she didn't say that.
I think dogs are parts of our family and it's a big adjustment and she's feeling it the same way a big sibling would feel it.
Speaking of postpartum, right? You also have helped us through that phase because that's a whole another phase of pregnancy that, if you do a normal birth, you don't necessarily get help with, you don't get a lot of assistance with the postpartum part of pregnancy, where, as when you go through like a home birth and with the midwife service, you do get like postpartum help, kind of help during that. So talk a little bit about that, like helping with those, symptoms in that step of pregnancy.
I mean, I think that, we talked about it being, you leave the hospital and it's 6 weeks till you see someone again for 10 or 15 minutes. And that's why we have a mental health crisis in this country for postpartum parents. I think it's just really critical to make, like I said, I'm in it for the parents. And I think it's really critical to make sure that you're like capable of becoming parents emotionally and like meeting that. And I've been there and it's a brutal few weeks. We were talking about that when I saw you today, right? That it's a little shocking how hard this time is and how overwhelming it is and how difficult it is to balance priorities. And so I hope I'm just like a tiny sounding board for texts and late night phone calls and visits and to help you, even if it's just to say like, no, Glenn, you are correct. Stephanie is not sleeping enough. And there isn't a remedy for that, right? To like normalize that stuff and help you guys see. But also the constant texts and visits and things are also a way for us to say, Stephanie's going to need more help. What can we do to fix that?
Yeah. Or Stephanie is right, Glenn. Leave her alone. Stop annoying her. Like that's also.
That was the day where you were like, see? And I was like, oh, I'm siding with Stephanie here.
That was a shock too. I was like, see? And then you're like, I'm siding with Stephanie. I'm like, what?
You were right. She needs more sleep. But she was right it's impossible to get enough sleep when you're nursing a baby.
But I mean, it's a very difficult thing to deal with, the whole process. So it's nice to have somebody there to just be like, this is what's going on. This is what you have, what you have going on. I don't know. Have you ever seen Hamilton, the musical Hamilton?
Sawyer/Ray and I went and saw it. We drove all the way to Pittsburgh. We got $130 seats, and it was like the best 2 hours of my life.
So the part where like they're singing the song "In the Eye of the Hurricane" and all the chairs are upside down and the people are doing like that's how I feel the postpartum section of the pregnancy is. It's like in the eye of the hurricane there is magic for just a moment.
I would say, in my medical opinion, that's accurate.
Yeah, it's totally accurate. So, but we're surviving it, and it's and I'm going to write my way out. But yeah, no, that's also super useful. So, in your personal life, I know that you have some nerdy interests, some nerdy things going on. Your husband is a collector of all kinds of memorabilia and stuff, and you said that you have worked next to somebody who was a writer for Marvel, and the owner of Dark Horse Comics. That's cool.
My grandparents owned a gas station, and the owner of Dark Horse Comics, his first job was pumping gas.
Really?
At their gas station.
That's so cool. That is super awesome. And the thing is, I'm kind of like a nerd. I don't know if you've seen the New Release Wednesday show that I do. Shout out New Release Wednesday, Nerds Rule the World, where we talk about a lot of this stuff. And we used to, and we're going to start once the world starts opening up more and more, start going to like the Comic-Cons and the different things again. We used to do all that. So I'm there. Maybe I'll have to find something for your hubby and bring you something.
I mean, I would like to circle back to his statue collection because I don't think you understand how much it is my fourth child. For a long time, it had an entire room in my house. Really? And I was like, Alex, all three kids can't continue to share one room while your statues have another room. So now we pay for a very large $200 a month storage unit for them. But he has dozens of like the big ones from Sideshow Collectibles, which was featured in the 40-Year-Old Virgin. Actually, he had a similar collection. And then for a while, the Sideshow site said featured in the 40-Year-Old Virgin. And I was like, I wouldn't brag, but...
It's funny. That does not surprise me. And I'm pretty sure that I know people who have larger collections than him, which you probably are just like, what?
Glenn,
but many.
We will have you to the storage unit. He loves nothing more than showing his collection to people.
Oh my goodness. See, this is the thing. I love it. I actually like witnessing people have these collectibles. I feel like I don't have enough of a hobby.
It's it's a serious hobby. You don't have the space for it.
I know Stephanie would probably try to strangle me if I had like way more stuff. I mean,
so to be fair, he came with this collection on a much smaller scale when I met him 15 plus years ago. I studied for the bar exam under a very large statue of the Queen Alien or whatever from Alien.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then so while you're studying, you just didn't notice that there were more collectibles coming in each day. That's a smart time.
Your husband has 75 statues.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, there's no better time than when your wife is studying for the bar or some really hard test to just bring in a bunch of different things that she's not going to like.
They come for a long time. He kept the boxes, and I finally put my foot down. And I was like, we don't have room for the boxes too. And then every time we have to move the statues, something breaks. We have a fight. Like, so, a tiny thing breaks. Like
it's not, no. You can't downplay one of the collectibles breaking. I'm on his side on this one.
You'll have to interview him sometime about how it feels to be a dad with a collection like that, like where everything else in your life is just against it.
Tell him BlerdDad has his back. There's no teeny part of your collectible that can break that you're okay with.
Every time my mother-in-law's like, I'm going to move it, I'm like, don't touch it. Just don't.
Smart move. All right. So a lot of times, different shows, they have burning questions that they like to ask. Here we have a blerding question that we like to ask. And so there's a reason why I brought up all the Marvel stuff and the Dark Horse stuff. I thought that this one would be pretty cool. And our blerding question for you today is, a new superhero is being born, and you are the midwife for their origin story. Where are they born, and what does the birth look like? What happens?
Oh my gosh, I feel like we might have to teamwork on this answer.
Okay.
First of all, I'm very honored that a superhero chose me as their midwife.
I mean, your team. The team was super. So yes, if they need, if a superhero needed like backup, you got to have like the person who invents your stuff, and you all would be great.
All right. I mean, I feel like our planet is on fire. We were talking about that today too, right?
Right.
So I would want my superhero to be born wherever all the billionaires are planning to go, so that we can be there first.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So Mars, right? So
Mars, right?
Space station on Mars. Got it.
Yeah.
Like what happens? What goes through the birth that causes them
the thing about it, and this makes me feel like I'm maybe not a good midwife in this story, is origin stories often have a dead parent involved, right?
Right.
So, but maybe. I don't want their mom to die.
But we can exchange the parent for the planet.
Yeah. Mother Earth is dead.
Mother Earth is the one that's dying in this one. Oh, so then the baby is coming out. So what happens? Give us an interesting little, I guess, thing. Like,
I mean, do we think you can have a water birth on Mars?
There is water on Mars.
There is. That's true.
Yeah, so
it's the only planet on which we know you.
That could be it. He has a water birth on Mars, but because he was born in the Martian water, it grants him superpowers because the water is different.
Yep.
And it's like he's like the first of many super babies that were born from Martian waters.
You definitely, and during the birth, remember how much you wanted Steph to have music? And she was like, turn it up, Glenn. And you turned on even this quiet meditative stuff. She was like, I said, I liked it quiet.
Yeah, it was so funny because, of course, birthing plan, right? It's like, oh, we decided we wanted to have nice music playing. We wanted, some lights to be going, candles, which, by the way, we weren't able to really do because it was like daytime. It was like light outside. Yeah. But we were supposed to have music on, and I'm like, all right, and we're supposed to also take pictures. So I was like, all right, we're supposed to have music. Everything's calm right now. Let me just play the music. I'm gonna play some. She's like, I don't want music. And then I said, all right. I know she said she doesn't want it, but once she starts hearing the soft, subtle,
but she didn't totally say it. She was like, no, nothing is fine. But then she had it wasn't clear that she had very strong feelings about it until you tried.
Yeah, she didn't have strong feelings about it at first. She was like, I think nothing is fine. And then I was like, all right, let me just try the subtle music. And it's like, I said nothing. And then she had very strong feelings about it. Also pictures, because she was like, oh, like my friend is going to help with the pictures, or, there's going to be someone taking pictures. And I was like, oh, well, no one's doing that job now. And I don't have a job. Let me go ahead and take some pictures. So I got out the camera, and she just looked at me. She's like, put that effing camera down. And I was like, oh, you're right. That was a poor choice. I probably should have. That one, yeah, I didn't think that one through.
You made a terrible mistake.
I think I've made a terrible mistake.
But so, anyways, obviously at the Martian birth, it has to be like David Bowie, right? Major Tom.
Okay, Ground Control to Major Tom. That's what's playing.
That's what's playing.
Oh, that is so sweet. All right, so do you catch the baby at this birth?
Well, I like for partners to catch the baby. So I don't know who the two superhero parents are, but I would. Also, if there's less gravity, I'm less worried about the baby hitting the floor. So.
Ah, interesting.
It is water, though. It's water birth. So.
Well, he bounces in the he comes out in the water and then immediately starts flying.
Out like this, Glenn.
Yeah. Oh, that was
he catches it. Sorry, we're a gender. She catches herself and emerges from the water without help.
I think this is going to be a cool superhero. I think this is going to be a really one. What do the parents name it? You get a little influence. They're going to name the superhero born on Mars to Martian waters.
I mean, I feel like I need to ask my 6-year-old the answer to that question.
We'll circle back. I'll do an update next episode, and we'll talk about it. As a matter of fact, it brings up a very interesting point. We didn't talk about catching the baby, which I have talked, like the episode before you, we were talking all about catching the baby and or the baby being born. And I'll tell you, the dad before this, he was talking about how he got ill, you know, for his son's birth, and he just wasn't able to deal with it. And I didn't know how I was going to react to like seeing, you know, all the stuff. But I don't know. What do you think of my reaction to being in there? A+,
Glenn. You know, you always end up. I think you got the full midwife experience where like you always end up in the tiniest little space, squeezed in, awkward position. And so we were all, Tia and I are all squished down there.
Yeah.
Right. Ready to go. It was your first catch and Tia's first catch.
Which was amazing. I'll tell you what, during the whole process, right, I don't, so it was very, very interesting because, you know, when the baby's being born, it's just like, no baby, head. And then it's just like head. And he's just there. And then, you know, she had to push a little bit further. And then I will say this, right? I don't know what the scene looked like in reality, but in my mind, all I saw was baby and floor. And you know, I'm almost certain that your hands were there, but I did not see them. I did not see anything except for baby and floor. And it's almost like talk about origin stories. This is where you get those daddy like spidey senses, you know, where you see dads like catch things really quickly. I feel like in that moment, I felt that sense being developed in me, and like all I saw was baby floor, and then faster than my hands have ever moved down, and I caught him by the head. I was the first hands to catch him. Yep.
I mean, it's the best part of a midwife's job.
Yeah. I don't know. It was spectacular.
Yeah, it was your hands and then Tia's hands, and then my hands were just below. But I didn't do anything until the baby was like the cord, you know, the cord was kind of all over, and you kind of want to untwist them before you
put them down or whatever.
And so I was like, wait. I'm always afraid someone's like, the baby floor conundrum is right, that you worry about the cord snapping. That's what I worry about. So I'm always like fussing over the cord.
Oh, so the cord can snap if like not done correctly. I didn't even know that was a danger.
It hits its max, and it's never happened to me. I do have a midwife friend once who had a student midwife once not do the best job catching a baby, and years later, when the mother was pregnant again, that little girl looked at her and goes, "I fell on my head when I was a baby." The midwife was like,
and I remember everything.
She was like, "I got to get out of here."
Oh no! Yeah, that's a cool experience though, to catch the baby. I'm sure maybe we'll have like another kid and do it again. But to go through something like over 750 births, I'm sure that, you know, you probably have caught at least a quarter of them, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of babies to catch.
It is the best part of my job. My student Tia was probably ready to catch a baby way sooner, but it's the part that's kind of hard. It's hard to give up the control.
Yeah. Well, it was very, you know what also made me very calm. So you said that I was kind of making things calm with the breathing and everything. What made me very calm was we were going through this, and it was almost like we slowly shifted into our final positions. And I'm like I'm trying to do the camera. I'm doing like the music and getting yelled at. And then I just like sat my ass down because I'm like, all right, I'm like doing too much and I'm getting yelled at and making it uncomfortable. So I sat down, and then you were in like the small little cubby corner, and you were just like sitting down and like kind of like just sitting there kind of like chilling. And then when I looked at you and how relaxed you were sitting there, it made me relax almost, because I was like, oh, this is it. We're in the, like, we just sit here now. Like, we just sit here and we be calm. And then the birds started chirping and everything. And I was just like, oh, okay. And that's where I came up with my listen, We're in a serene environment. The birds are chirping. I really did go full Bob Ross during
you just busted out with this like mindfulness and breathing stuff where I was like, I was not expecting that, but I'm very glad to have it.
Yeah, right. It's not something that I do every day, because usually I'm being expressive or whatever. But listen, if the situation calls for it, I'm going to rise to the occasion and
Yeah. But you said you've made it clear the entire time that like Stephanie was so important to you and that her comfort was like so important to you and that you were really going to do what you had to do to make sure every step of the way that she felt safe and comfortable, and you did it. Yeah.
But Stephanie's the one who really did it. She's the one who came through. I would just like to say, Stephanie is a badass. And people don't know this. She did the whole thing. She didn't have painkillers. She just bit down on a towel like an old war vet and just like, Arr! It's like, God damn, woman. So, forever.
She's also a badass for surviving that last week and a half of being pregnant when she was ready to not be pregnant anymore.
That's a big thing. I mean, that like she was just so ready to be done. And plus it's like, you have your due date and then it's like, okay, due date's here and then nothing. And then next day and nothing. Yep. And then next day, and so it was like a full week after, and it's just like, when is this going to be over? I just want them out, Yep,
it's really hard when you're looking forward to something like that, and I think that's one of my jobs is to like lower your expectations about when your baby's going to come, so that when you're 41 weeks pregnant, you're not at least one person told you that was going to happen, even though you were probably sure it wasn't going to happen to you.
Yeah, you were very, very clear that you were just like, I don't like baby's not coming. It's like, it's going to take some time. Like you're at the end of pregnancy, but baby's not coming. And it did help kind of meet our expectations a little bit because I think we called you like in the last few weeks. I think we called you, a bunch of times like, hey, she's feeling this. Is it go time? And you're like, nope. It was like,
do you remember literally the appointment the week before the baby was born? You came in, I was like, well, you're not in labor. And you go, she's not?
Yeah, right. I was like, listen, I feel like a fool. I was telling everybody, I was like, she's in pre-labor right now. She, you know what I mean? It's going to ramp up. And then it was just like, nothing.
Yeah.
So,
it's not like in the movies, right? It's not, that would be my story, my superhero. The mother would have false labor for days. Because in the movies, it's always like, it's time, or the water breaks and they run. But none of that is what it's like in real life, right? Yeah. It's like, is it, isn't it? Is it, isn't it? You don't know. They call it a retrospective diagnosis. You don't know it was early labor until you're in active labor.
Yeah. So would you say that we were in early labor?
No.
Like when no. So she really did just ramp up, like water breaks, boom, labor, and done.
Yeah. I mean, throughout the day, I do think that like labor was picking up for her.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. Well, this is fun. I mean, I could sit here and talk with you all night, but I know that you probably will, like any moment now, you could have been interrupted and had to go bring another baby into this world. So,
Yep. I mean, that's the fun of it. And I told you today that you guys need to be getting more sleep. So you have the rest of us are going to tuck into bed, but you've got a night ahead of you still.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I still got to, edit and put this thing out and, just, I got to take care of her. Got to make sure Sadie gets another walk, feed him when he needs a little. So it's a lot. There's a lot on my shoulders,
That's the other, see, this is where, when I say I like parents more than babies, it's because babies are hard. I love my kids, but I don't want to do that again.
Oh, really?
I like holding your baby. It's great.
Yeah, this part is like, it's really, really difficult. And I will say the first thing, as a dad, it's like, I got to keep this little dude alive. And he's like so small. He's so fragile. I don't know what's going to like, harm him or like cause him to, distress or whatever. So, I just walk around like poking him like, you all right? You still alive? You good? All right, cool. Which is probably annoying.
I mean, I still do that like 12 years into parenting.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm going to have to pinch them every now and then. Just be like, are you still here?
You just go in and you like watch their breathing and you're like, okay, they're alive. Okay. It gets a little more believable that they're going to stay alive.
Right. The more, like as he gets stronger, I'm like, all right, he looks kind of strong. He's starting to hold his bottle. He took a swing at me the other day. I don't know if it was involuntary, but it was like, it's like, whoa. But you know, I think he's gonna make it.
I think he is too.
Right.
I told someone once a mother was very upset because the father let the baby get a draft or something. And I was like, babies are hard to kill. And she was like, but I believe it. They're hard to kill. They're made to endure our imperfections.
Right. Well, I mean, if you think about it, when we didn't have shelters, like back then, humanity survived, you know what I mean? So, and we had all kind of crazy things, you know what I mean? Like babies were in mangers, like what?
Yep.
All right. So tell the people where they can find you if they want to get more information about birthing, midwife services, home births. Tell people where they can find you.
Thanks. My business is Delray Midwifery. My website is www.novabirth.org.
Okay.
My office is in Old Town Alexandria.
Oh, cool. Are you on Instagram, Twitters, all that good stuff, or just keep it to the websites and whatnot?
Old, but yes, my Instagram is DC Home Birth.
DC Home Birth. I think we're gonna. Oh, look at that! Look at that! It comes. We're like full service. We're like legit now. So yeah, you can follow Ryann on Facebook at Delray Midwifery. Instagram's DC Home Birth. It should say. It says Bith, but Home Birth is what it is. There's still an R in there. It's mommy brain. Stephanie's behind the controls here. It's fine. Everybody knew what we meant. Plus nobody's copy and pasting.
It was Morgan behind the controls.
It was Morgan, his little fingers. I could see it. His little fingers hit delete accidentally. So once again, I just wanted to thank you again for helping grow our family by one more member, but actually growing it by 4 more members, because now I feel like you, Mel, and Tia are also part of our family.
We love you guys, and it's been such a treat spending this pregnancy and your birth with you, and now you're just stuck with us. We could have a drink sometime.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Haven't been drinking. We have a really nice bottle of Jameson that is from Ireland. It's literally from the distillery. They only make a few of them per year, but this one is, it's tasty.
Stephanie can breastfeed. I always say best time to have a drink is right after you breastfed.
There you go.
Then you got a couple hours to clear it out of your system.
And that's the amazing type of advice that you're going to get when you are.
Let's end on that note.
Yeah, let's end on drinking. Well, no, there's going to be tons of great advice. And even if you plan on doing a hospital birth, I would recommend getting a midwife and, at least consulting with them, because they're going to help you figure out what is best for you in this situation. And, there's nothing against doing a birth in the hospital if that is what's necessary, but a lot of times it may not be necessary, even though a lot of people do it.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Ryann, thank you so much. Once again, Ryann Morales of Delray Midwifery. Is it Wifery?
Wifery.
Wifery? It's not Wifery?
It's not Wifery. Sorry, I should maybe told you sooner, but
yeah, that's weird. Ryann Morales with Delray Midwifery. Thank you so much for all you've done for our family. We super appreciate you.
Thanks for trusting us with your baby.
Yeah. All right. Talk to you soon. I'll talk to you in a little bit. I'm gonna close out the show and then I'll say, hey.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. So there you have it. That was our discussion with Ryann Morales of Delray Midwifery. And it was an amazing experience. I can't say enough about the services that they provided. I can't say enough about having a midwife and have somebody to take you through your birthing process. They're like birth shamans, like if you ever needed a shaman to help you do through things, they are the ones that you would get for birth. It was a pretty amazing experience. I was happy with it. I hope it's been insightful. If you have questions about it, of course, you can hit them up. You can hit me up. I'll probably be talking about it more. You'll never hear the end of it because I am so excited that I was able to catch my baby, be the first hands on him. You know what I'm saying? That's something that I'm going to be using forever. Anytime he does it, boy, I was the first hands on you. I'll be the last hands on you. You keep messing up. I don't think I'm going to say that. The only thing I'm going to say is what I always say at the end of these things: blerd that out.